and welcome. My name is Darryl Syms, and in today's video I'm going to be showing you Positive Grid's brand new Bias Effects 2. I'm super stoked about this release, as a lot of you will already know that I've been using the original Bias Effects over the last year or so, and it's been fantastic. So I can already foresee that Bias Effects 2 is going to be a large staple in my work throughout this year. So in this video, I'm going to be taking you for a tour of the new Bias Effects 2 interface. I'm going to be showing you how easy it is to create your own tones. I'm then going to be demoing a few of the factory presets that come with Bias Effects 2. And I'm also going to be giving away 3 of my own patches, which you'll be able to download on the Tone Cloud, which I'll get to later on. So let's go ahead and get straight into the interface. So immediately when you open Bias Effects 2, you'll notice that the interface has been completely modernized, and you're welcomed with their default preset, which is called American Dream. This is a fantastic preset, which is in fact what that piece of music that you heard at the beginning of the video is based on. I made a couple small tweaks just to make it a little bit more responsive and dynamic, and that's one of my tones that you'll be able to find on the Tone Cloud, which I'll get to in a bit. And let me give you a tour of the interface here. So on the top left you have access to the Tone Cloud, which I will come back to later. Then if you click on American Dream here, you will find a full list of factory presets in different genres, which is fantastic, and that's already going to keep you busy for a long time. Besides this, you have the ability to save your own tones or even upload your own tones to the Tone Cloud. And then we have your BPM, which is useful if you're using a chain of pedals that you want matched at the same BPM. For example, if I click this delay pedal here, you'll see you have the toggle for whether or not you want it to match the BPM or operate manually with the milliseconds dial. Besides this, we have a toggle between what you see now and the pedal board view, and you can also scroll across and see the rack effects that you're using. And then next to that we have the tuner, always useful. Now this right here is one of the first significant features of Bias Effects 2 over its previous edition. This is the built-in looper function, which is fantastic. This allows you to loop every 1, 2, 4, 8, 12 or 16 bars, or you can completely free time it right here if you just want to play something and perhaps just listen back to yourself. Besides the duration, you can find all the other functions which you'd expect on a good looper, and it's also really nice that you can set independent volumes for the metronome and your loop. And of course, if you make any mistakes whilst looping, you can just undo it, or you can clear the entire loop if you're not happy and try again. And if you create something awesome, you can actually even export your audio, which is real handy if you just want to save it for later. Maybe you want to synchronize your audio with a video. So this is a really awesome feature of Bias Effects 2. Next to the looper, we have the settings icon. There's really not a lot to say about that. Apart from this one here, the window size, this is quite cool. The standard edition of Bias Effects, number 1, just comes with a window about this size, which isn't ideal on such a big monitor like this. I have a lot of screen space here, and when you've got a tiny little screen like that, it can be hard to see. So I'm really glad that you can enlarge that and take advantage of the modernized graphics. Now at the bottom here we have, of course, the input volume, which speaks for itself. Now the next significant feature of Bias Effects 2 is this guitar match function. So what this is, if I click on here, this essentially will profile each of your pickups on your guitar, and if you have a few guitars you can create a few different profiles, and what it'll do is match that to sound like another guitar of your choice from the list here. So I could sound like a Les Paul if I wanted. Obviously I've got the Strat selected right now. I can pick a Telecaster, and as you can see, there's John Petrucci's Music Man. As you can see, there's a nice list of guitars which you can choose from here if you'd rather sound like a different guitar without actually owning that guitar. So I'm sure that you could have a lot of fun here if you wanted to sound like your favorite guitar player. Moving on from the guitar match function, we have your quick snap here, which essentially allows you to recall 8 presets super quickly. Then we have your output setting, which is essentially an EQ. To be honest, I don't know too much about what this does, so I'm just going to leave it as its default and move on. The last function here is your output volume, which again speaks for itself. Now let's go ahead and check out the main interface here. I'm going to show you how you can build your own tone, and then we're going to check out a few of the factory presets. So as I mentioned earlier, Bias Effects is going to load up its default preset. But if we want to start from scratch, we go ahead and click this clear button down the bottom, which gives you a noise gate, your amp head, and your cab, which are obviously compulsory in the chain here, since this is what's going to produce your sound. Now if I click the amp here, we can go ahead and make some adjustments to the dials should we wish to, or we can even change the amp if I double click it, and you've got different categories of amps to choose from here. So in the low gain category, there are 21 amps for you to choose from. In the crunch, we have 27, and the high gain, 34, which is already a mind-blowing amount of amps for you to play around with and choose from to find your perfect sound. Beyond that, you've got some acoustic amps for simulating acoustic perhaps, and some bass amps. You'll find that many of these amps and effects are based on real-world products. So for example, two of my favorites in the low gain category here is the 66 AC Boost, which is based on a Vox AC30. And then you've got the 59 Tweed Luxe here, which is based on a Fender Blues Deluxe. Now if I go ahead and select the Tweed Luxe here, you can see the amp and the matching cab change. Again, if I click the amp, we can make some adjustments to the tone here. And also if I click the cab, we can go ahead and make some adjustments to the cab. Maybe I want to change the cab. Maybe I don't like the stock cab. I can click here and you've got a bunch of one speaker cabs, 8 one speaker, 14 two-speaker cabs, and 17 four-speaker cabs, as well as acoustic and bass cabs for you to choose from. So again, there's plenty of choice for you, which range from Celestion cabs to Greenback cabs, that kind of thing. And if you want to make even more adjustments, you can grab the microphone, change the position of the microphone, change the distance. You can even change the actual mic that you're using. And if you want, you can also add a second mic. So there's plenty of opportunities here to really fine-tune your desired tone. Now beyond this, we can also set up a dual setup if you want to set up a stereo setup, and you can change the amps to whatever you want on each side, and then through the mixer here you can set the pan and the level and all that good stuff, and that pretty much sets us up for the amp side of things. I'm going to revert to the single setup here just for the purpose of this demo, and now I'm going to go ahead and show you how to add some effects. So I'm going to scroll over here to the add function, which brings up heaps of different types of effects, starting off with your noise gates. Then you've got a bunch of compressors, from foot pedals to rack effects. You may even recognize a few of these visually. For example, this compressor over here looks a bit like the Wampler Ego compressor, and it sounds absolutely fantastic. You've got some pitch shifters and other filters. Again, some of these you might recognize. Boost pedals, two of my favorites, this one here and this one, fantastic. Drive pedals, immediately this first one you should hopefully recognize, and this one down here is also another one of my favorites. And then we've got some distortion pedals and rack effects. You've got some EQs, again foot pedals and rack effects. I find this EQ6 quite useful. And then this category is massive, the modulation category. There's so much for you to play with here. Some of my favorites is this yellow foot pedal here, and what else have we got? You've got stereo chorus rack unit here, which is incredibly cool, and a few others for you to play with. And the last two categories is your delay and reverb, which once again just contain heaps of things for you to play with. Now I'm going to go ahead and just quickly drag and drop some effects into the chain here. I'm going to add some modulation and an EQ. There we go, and a drive. Just to show you some of the functions of each pedal and how easy it is to set this kind of thing up. So on the drive pedal, as you'd expect, heaps of dials for you to play with to really sculpt that sound that you want. Same on the EQ, and then you've got the modulation, which again, all the dials for you to play with. And then even with the reverb, you can set up a plate, hall, chamber, or room style reverb. I really like the plate in this pedal, which you'll find I use in, I think, probably all of my patches on the tone cloud, which I'm going to share with you. Now let's say that you want to change the order of the pedals. You can do that simply by dragging and dropping whatever you want, wherever you want. So it's an incredibly easy interface for you to get your head around, but what I recommend is that you actually start off with a factory preset that sounds close to the sound that you're looking for, and then make some finer adjustments beyond that, which is going to save you heaps of time just endlessly going through every single pedal and every single amp, which you should definitely do because there are some golden ones in there. But if you just want something super quick, it's best to head up to the menu up here and browse some of the factory presets, which is exactly what I'm going to take you through right now. So there you have it. That was just a handful of the factory presets that come with Bias FX 2. There are heaps more to have fun with, and if that's not enough, you can still go ahead and click this button in the top left here, which grants you access to over 50,000 more presets for you to have fun with. Now, to sift through these, let's say that, for example, you're looking for a patch from your favorite guitar player or a particular sound. You can do that by just searching for the keyword. So for example, if you're looking for my patches, you can just type in Darryl Syms, boom, and then you'll see all of the patches that I've uploaded myself to the Tone Cloud. And if you want to preview them before you download them, you just hover over the patch, click the play button, play, experiment. If you like it, then you can just go ahead and click the download button on the left, and that'll add it to your own bank of patches. Now, I mentioned earlier that there are 3 of my own tones that I wanted to share with you alongside this video. The first one was the Australian Dream patch, which you heard at the beginning of this video. The second patch is just simply an update from my original Bias FX tone, which I've used across the majority of my YouTube videos. This was previously known as the Darryl Syms Edgy Clean, but I've updated it and now it's called Dynamic Bite, simply because it's a very dynamic tone that has a little bit of bite. And this tone's fantastic. It's really one of my favorites. It's very responsive to your pick attack. It has a lot of dynamic range, and it's particularly great for fingerstyle. Let me just demonstrate that for you real quick. So that was patch number 2, and the very last patch that I want to share with you is my high gain lead tone, which I'll show you in just a moment as I play out this video. But before I show you that patch, I just want to wrap up this video. I really hope that you like my user patches. If you have any questions or comments, then please don't hesitate to let me know in the comments section below. That's all from me today. I'll see you next time.